right, welcome back to the Business Bros Radio Show. Anytime you need to contact Paul, simple, Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com, and 416-444-PROS is the number. By the way, I'm going to keep telling you this till you get one on your desk. You want to email Paul with your address and get the digital marketing cheat sheet, full color, laminated, great reference guide, things like the 7-step client value optimizer system, glossary of digital marketing terms. You can have it and keep it with you, but Paul needs a real address so they can actually send a physical copy to you. So make sure you do that. The 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business, that's what we're talking about today, Paul. So what was the genesis of this one?
Well, this came out of an idea where we were trying to think about the things that most companies that come to us actually do that they most likely should not be doing. And in this case, never doing, because there is things that you think you know that may work, and then there's things that most people don't know that actually work.
That's not a great
And those are the things that we focus on, and that's where these 5 things. And we actually got together as a team at our office, and we thought, okay, well, what are the big things that companies are doing that they probably shouldn't be? And number 5, and we're going to count down to 1 because we always do that because we like Letterman.
It's the excitement. Number 5 is never buy Facebook likes. I love this. Facebook likes don't pay bills.
Yeah, actually, I spoke at a conference a few years back, and this is an old one for me because I always try to, because I don't know if you know that about me, but I do a lot of speaking. And I was at this conference in the United States. There's about 3,000 people there. I was one of the keynote speakers, and they were interviewing me before the conference. And I said this thing, because somebody asked me about social media. And I said, well, Facebook likes don't pay bills. And it became the most tweeted.
Yeah, it's going to be on a T-shirt and a coffee mug.
It became the most tweeted statement at the show, and I've been kind of following it ever since. What I mean by this is that a lot of companies think that because of the advent of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, that they need a social person to be, social shout outs.
Right.
And a lot of companies even try to look like they're bigger than they are by you can actually go on Facebook and buy likes.
Yeah, just to be the cool kid in school.
And they're not expensive. No. Like for $100, you can get like 5,000 Facebook likes. And you're probably wondering, well, how does that actually happen?
Right.
Well, the answer is that these companies, they go and they spend very small amounts of money to get people in not necessarily third world countries, but that's really my meaning. Bangladesh, India, very populated areas where things are cheap. And so they have this whole network, and you pay $100 and you get 5,000 Facebook likes from India.
And people are just go on and click like.
They're just clicking like. And they actually are, for the most part, real people. But this has an adverse effect because the way the Facebook algorithm actually works, it will now skew itself to things that are out of your control. So it doesn't actually help. It actually works in reverse. So that you have like 5,000 likes from India. Well, you may do well in India, but you're not going to do very well in Canada, kind of thing.
Well, and the thing is, if I go to Training Business Bros and I go to your Facebook page, the last bit of information I'm going to look at on your Facebook page, I don't care how many likes you have.
Right.
So why would I pay for that? Because I would not care how many likes Paul Tobey has. I'm more concerned about your content and what you offer. So maybe getting shares might be worth more on Facebook than getting likes, but paying for likes, I agree that doesn't pay bills. I don't know how it would. It just makes no sense. So and you find whether it's a small company or big companies, when they come to you, which was the genesis for this list, a lot of companies, that's their knee-jerk reaction. Got to buy some likes on Facebook. That's going to put us ahead.
Well, it's a larger conversation because there's a lot of things on social media that companies do that they shouldn't be doing. This is the main one. I think the concept of Facebook likes, while it might seem cool to have 4,000 or 5,000 likes, it's not necessarily what people pay attention to. I think you're absolutely correct. They like content. They prefer to see things that are of value to them rather than a bunch of people they don't know liking things.
Yeah.
The other thing that companies often do is when they get a post that gets relative traction, they often get this message from Facebook that says promote your post.
Yes.
To reach.
Right. Seen it.
For $20, you can reach another 5,000 people.
Right.
That's also part of the same algorithm that they use to buy likes. So you're actually going to end up reaching an audience that is not your audience. Out of the country, third world countries. There's a lot of stuff at play there. It's a really good cash grab for Facebook.
So if I wanted to, I can't be geocentric in my likes. I can't say to Facebook, I'm willing to pay $1,000 for 10,000 likes, but I want those likes coming from Southern Ontario. I can't do that.
You can actually, but the problem is most people don't. It just says promote your post, pay your $20, and away you go.
Right.
But you can. What I prefer to do is, I never use, by the way, for any company, I never recommend that you use the whole promote your post thing.
Okay.
Because it's not thought out well. It's just a post. I prefer to advertise. That's my thing about social media. It's, if you're going to talk about your company and the things that you do to help other companies or other consumers, whether you're B2B or B2C, if you're going to talk about that on social media, why not be obvious? Why not just advertise? Because people are actually more accepting of that than they are of you talking business behind a post.
Just show me the business.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to advertise, why don't you just pay for that? And people are actually okay with that.
Right. Not just get likes.
So
on
I don't
Facebook.
I don't like promoting things because they still appear as private postings, and it doesn't reach the necessary audience that you want, although there are algorithms at play that you can do that. For example, you can use a remarketing audience, and I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but most people just promote the post, and it doesn't work as well as advertising. And you're going to spend actually less for advertising that works better.
Even as opposed to doing the stuff on Facebook.
Right. Like advertising on Facebook is better than, because promote a post is really advertising.
Yep.
It's just not really well thought out.
Right. We're going to take a short break. Lots more to go. The number to get a hold of Paul anytime, 416-444-PROS. And it is Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. Reminder as well, email and phone call, whatever it is, make sure you leave a mailing address so you can take advantage of the digital marketing cheat sheet. Paul will send it to you free of charge. It's amazing. You can stay on your desk and refer to it from here on in, but you need the actual physical mailing address for that. Lots more. The Business Pros Radio Show is on the way. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Back with more of the Business Pros Radio Show. To contact Paul anytime, Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com, the number 416-444-PROS. And again, get that digital marketing cheat sheet by contacting Paul and his crew, and leaving a physical mailing address as well. The 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. Number 5 was buy Facebook likes. We all know how useless that is. You just want to be the cool kid in school. Number 4, never buy Google AdWords traffic unless you track your cost per lead. Break that down.
AdWords is our favorite advertising tool.
Okay.
The reason for that is because everybody uses Google. I mean, raise your hand in our audience now if you haven't been on Google in the last
10
hour.
minutes. Seriously.
Many people have it as the default in their browser.
Yep.
They're using it to find things. Even if they know the URL of the website that they want to go to, they typically just type it into the search engine and it shows up and they click it. Does that make sense?
Yes. You want to find how to get to a restaurant, Google Maps. You go right to Google. Everybody uses it.
So think about your audience, and we're talking to business people right now, and you're a business, you're sitting there, well, let's put ourself in the position of somebody who needs us. Okay. So I'm a roofer, okay?
Yep.
I'm not actually, but let's say I am.
Today you are.
Today I'm a roofer, and I'm thinking, okay, somebody just had their roof blown off in the storm recently.
Yep.
Which, by the way, happened to me. I don't know if...
Are you missing shingles?
Shingles that blew the whole freaking roof off.
God.
It's the tallest house on the street. It just kind of ripped the whole roof off. It's crazy. We had these big gaping holes in our roof. So I needed a roofer, but I don't know roofers. It's not my business. And I called the insurance company, and of course, 5,000 people that day also had their roofs blown off. So nobody can find anybody. Right. And so where do I go?
Google. Right away.
It's like, let's just Google it, or I go to, and if I Google it, I might find Homestars, and I might find other referral things. I tried a few on Homestars, but I basically just Google, and I'm looking for reviews. Can anybody help me? That kind of stuff, right? The reason why AdWords works well is because the advertiser is catching me in my moment of need.
That's an excellent way to put it.
On Facebook, you're catching somebody at social play. the water cooler.
Right.
You're
When
catching
they have
them.
time.
They're catching them on daily activity. You're advertising to them when they're not asking for it. So that's why we love AdWords. AdWords is our favorite because it's based on I'm searching for what I need and I show up for what you need. Now, there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of advertiser competition, cost per clicks, all of that. And we get companies all the time who fail at this miserably. Fail. Like epic fail. And the reason why it's epic fail is because they don't really pay attention to the one thing that they need.
Okay. And
that's to track the cost per lead. So there's what we call the CPA, the cost per acquisition.
Okay.
How many clicks did it take for me to generate some contact data to talk to somebody?
Okay.
You with me?
Once they're on your website.
Once they're on the website. So typically what they'll do, and the reporting that other marketing companies will give is, oh, look at how much traffic we sent you to this page, and look at all the clicks and likes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we don't care about that. What we care about is, do we have anybody we can talk to and
sell them something.
And convince that we can help them?
Yep.
Helping is better than selling, which is maybe companies don't necessarily know that. The ultimate goal is to sell, but helping is better than selling. So can we generate somebody to talk to? So the cost per lead is the thing that we base our entire advertising on.
Okay.
What did it cost us to generate somebody to speak to? And that can vary from industry to industry. We have some people that are, actually, I just generated leads for a training course. Actually, it was a webinar. So webinar, what we call lead to webinar to training course. Mm-hmm. Get them to watch the webinar for free, and then on the back end of the webinar, get them into a training course. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I just generated leads for the webinar at $11 a lead, which is epically phenomenal.
That's like peanuts, man.
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
So it can be as low as that. It could be as low as $5. It depends on the targeted area. I'm only targeting GTA, so that's actually really good. The smaller the search area, usually the higher the cost. The larger you expand the search area, the less cost it'll be. So when you talk about capturing a lead, $11 is a good deal. We have companies that spend $50 and are completely happy with that because average cost per sale is $5,000, and it takes you 4 leads to create a $5,000 deal. It's $200
the
to
math is
average.
amazing.
The math makes sense.
Yep.
The problem is that companies don't know the math, and because digital marketing, everything is trackable, the math makes sense. You can't look at math on a billboard. If you got a billboard at Dundas and Yonge Street, you have no idea how many people saw that.
It's impossible.
You don't know how many people picked up their cell phone at that moment and Googled the company.
You're just
hitting
hope,
no
right?
idea. It still works, but digital marketing is accurate, and that's what I love about it. You can actually track the cost per lead, and the goal of any good marketing company is to get that down as low as possible. Keep the targeted traffic up, keep the demographic, the geographic, and the preferences of the person that you want high, but get them for the least amount of money possible.
And they got to come down through the filter till they can register as a lead through all the AdWords.
And then to the sale.
Right.
So if you can track the cost per lead, then the cost per sale, how many leads did it take to get the sale? Mm-hmm. Then if you're spending $2,000 a month, and you've been doing that consistently on AdWords for 3 months, change it to 4 if you can handle the business.
Right.
Change it to 8 if you can handle the business, because the cost per lead won't change much.
Nice.
It just becomes a numbers game at that point. So right now we're dealing with we're picking up a new company right now, 6 years to $13 million. That's how long it took them to get the $13 million. I'm so impressed with this company. I'm not going to talk about it yet because the deal's not closed. Yep. But I've never been more impressed with anybody's progress in 6 years than to $13 million. Same thing for them. If we can prove the cost per lead, that's something we can scale up because the traffic exists. We'll never run out of traffic for this particular product.
We're talking about the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. Number 3, 2, and 1 are still coming up, so we'll take a short break. The contact anyway, Paul and his crew. Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. The number 416 770-444-PROS. Leave a mailing address so they can physically send you the digital marketing cheat sheet. We'll talk a little more about that later on in the show and get back to the Business Pros Radio Show in just a few minutes here, right here. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Pros Radio Show. The number to get a hold of Paul and his team, 416-444-PROS. That is 7767. Email is Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. We are talking about this hour stuff you need to know, especially if you're becoming a client of Paul's. This is the stuff that you're going to want to know and get down to improve things once you get going. That is the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. Number 5 was never buy Facebook likes. Facebook likes don't pay bills. We love that. That's going to be on a t-shirt soon. Number 4, never buy Google AdWords traffic unless you track your cost per lead. And we're into number 3, that is never respond to web leads with information unless they ask for it. Instead, keep it short and ask only questions.
This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see companies make. Let's say you go to a website and you fill out a form. You give your name, you give your email address, maybe a phone number, and maybe you answer a question or two. Most of them don't do questions. You should, because that's how you segment your audience. Like, which of the following best describes you? Right. A, beginner. Yeah. B, intermediate. C, expert. D, professional. Simple. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But they don't do that. They just say, give me your contact data. And that's not as good as asking them a question, because you get to learn something. And then you get to send them something of value.
Right.
So that's fine. The problem with that is that companies now have autoresponders and CRMs that respond with information, right? Mm-hmm. Between the time somebody fills out the form and the time somebody contacts them, we're going to send out information. And that makes sense. I like that plan, right? We got your email. We'll follow up with you shortly. In the meantime, here's some stuff that could be relevant and useful. The problem is that companies send stuff that's A, boring, B, far too long, C, they send them a PDF document that looks like crap on a mobile phone, E, F, G, and all of these mistakes that they make that nobody cares anything about. Let's say you are you're a trade show, okay? Mm-hmm. Say I'm a trade show.
Yep. You're a trade show.
No, you're a trade show.
I'm a trade show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say I'm a trade show.
I'm a trade show.
Okay, so Mr. Trade Show.
Yes.
I'm a potential booth purchaser.
Okay.
I came to your trade show website, and it says over here, participate in this trade show.
Sure.
Right.
Get a booth.
Click the button, filled out the form. I'm Paul Tobey from Training Business Pros. I'm interested in a booth and a speaking spot.
Yep.
The form that comes back to me, or the email that comes back to me, is all of the information about your show, how long it's been in business, what kind of audience you get, the demographics, the geographics. There's PDF attachments. There's a whole bunch of... I don't care about any of that stuff. And I may care, but not right now. Yeah. Right now, I just want to talk.
I want a spot.
I want a spot, and I want to get one before you're sold out, and I want a deal, right? So here's a better idea. Ask me a question in the web form, and based on that question, follow up with another question as quick as you can, and make it one line in an email. That's how, when you write to your friends, do you write them 17 paragraphs of
a Word document,
your history? No. You respond with a sentence or two maximum, right? So act like a real person and respond to any inquiries with that. So your response to me would be, have you participated in our trade show before? And what type of space are you looking for?
There, real information.
Do you know what I mean?
You're going to answer that.
Tell us a little bit about your company and what you're looking to accomplish.
Right. Something useful.
You with me?
Yeah.
It's crazy how many companies respond with this, what they think is good information, but it's just too much. You don't need it. And a couple of questions to get to the bottom of what your prospect is looking for is the better approach.
Because it seems like, you mentioned before, a lot of companies using the trade show example will send you, a PDF form. Here's what we do. Here's what the show's about, blah, blah, blah. Well, I
already researched that.
I'm already on your website. I know that
I already researched that. Yeah. I've been to the website.
Yeah, I get it.
I've actually seen companies, because we do this all the time. I've actually seen companies send them a link to their homepage.
From their homepage?
Yeah, my response, I filled out the form, and
from
you're
the
sending
homepage.
it, here's a link to our website. Well, wait a second. I filled out the form. I've already been there.
Yeah,
Why are you sending me back? I just want to talk to somebody. I just want to know what I should do next. I'm an inquiry. Help my inquiry get to where it needs to be quickly, please.
Would it be okay for one of those responses if you're putting this together for a company, say it was the trade show, and you filled out a form, that form did include your name, your email, and a phone number, would a response be, we'll contact you shortly?
Yeah, that's a good response.
And
but I still think you should ask a question.
Right.
Because I may not want to talk to somebody. I may want to just do it digitally for a bit. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You give me your text number and we'll text each other.
That's okay.
That's okay. Lots of people do that.
But
we actually give people choices. You want to email, you want to text, you want to talk.
What happens most often?
People want to email. Believe it or not. Wow. Especially millennials. Millennials don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to email.
They don't need a voice.
And the quickest you are to get back to me, to them, the better it is. And be brief. Because quite frankly, they're texting 7,000 times a day. And to them, a text is like 6 letters in some kind of code.
It's not some long, drawn-out thing.
Yeah, LMAO. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. LOL.
LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
WTF.
it's like this whole language that they've developed.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to say that I haven't been a millennial before. I've been young, but I've never been a millennial. It's an interesting generation.
Yeah.
It was like just at the Bridal Show Producers Association conference in Niagara. And they had a panel of millennials who are about to get married. And it was interesting listening to them. And this is where I learned this. They don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to text or email. And they want it brief. Get to the point. The companies that got back to them, the photographer, the DJ, all of the things you need for a wedding, right? The dress people, the shoe people, the cake people, all of that. Whoever gets back to them the first with the questions that they want to answer gets the business.
And that's all there is to it.
Well, they don't know the difference between good cake and bad cake. Like, seriously, like it's a cake. They show them a picture. Here are 5 cakes to choose from. Pick one.
Maybe, the minion cake.
Maybe I'm underestimating the value of a cake at a wedding because I never had one because we were too broke at the time to have one. Yeah. Actually, my wedding, just FYI, I was so broke 22, almost 23 years ago now. So broke when we got married, I burnt my own chicken wings at the wedding party. I swear to you.
He used Google Earth for his wedding photo. Everybody smile.
Things have changed since then, which is kind of why we're, helping businesses now because, helping other people get what they want, you can have what you want.
That's right.
So we've done 5, 4, and 3. When we get back up the break, we're going to go after 2. But anyway, number 3 says never respond with tons of information unless they ask for it.
Yeah.
Keep it short. Ask only.
The number is 416-444-PROS. Email is paul@trainingbusinesspros.com. Take advantage of that. Make sure you send a mailing address so you can take advantage and get a copy of the digital marketing cheat sheet as well. This is the Business Pros Radio Show. It continues. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Pros Radio Show. Yeah, the number to get a hold of Paul and his team, 416-444-PROS and paul@trainingbusinesspros.com. It's full color, it's laminated, great reference guide, things like the 7-step client value optimizer system, glossary of digital marketing terms. That is all contained within the digital marketing cheat sheet. You can get one. Paul will send it to you. Just make sure you leave a mailing address for that. We are talking about the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. We are down to the top 2. It's very Letterman-esque here this morning on the show. Number 2, Paul, never rely on sales staff or office staff to close web leads without a system to automate the sales pipeline.
Wow, that was
the people factor.
Very jargonish.
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Right.
When we install a lead generator system for companies to generate those leads that we're talking about, whether it's for roofing companies or cake people
Wedding
for weddings,
photographers, yeah.
wedding photographers. When we install a system on your website, the goal is to obviously capture the lead, but we do more than that as a company. We believe very strongly that many companies aren't qualified to deal with their own incoming leads.
Okay.
Qualified meaning if you're relying on an office staff person who's not a trained or otherwise experienced salesperson, then we could send you 100 leads, and that's not going to make a hill beans of difference because you don't know how to close. You don't know how to get those people to buy something. And if your products and services are of significant value, people are often going to have choice. And if you don't convince them that you're the best one for them and that there's some incentive to work with you than anybody else, and you don't have people talking that language, then often you're not going to do very well. One specific example, we deal with a company now. It's been going on, 7 years. We've been the main marketing entity for this company in Alberta, who is a finance company. And in the beginning, it was easy for us because I don't know, maybe they don't know what they're doing in Edmonton and Calgary, but we do. And maybe we did such a great job, we got them from 20 leads a month to 300.
Jeez.
And it overwhelmed their resources. And they kept complaining that they weren't closing business. And they said, well, the leads aren't any good.
No, you're dropping the ball.
Well, you can't really say that you get 300 leads and none of them are any good. That's kind of ridiculous because people are filling out a web form based on the information that's available to them. Who's going to waste their time filling out a web
to go to that step
if they don't actually... I mean, we're assuming people can read. They can fill out the form. They must have read what was on the landing page. They're not just going to fill out things randomly.
So
true. To tell us that it's, 300 leads, none of them are any good, that's ridiculous.
But the 20 you had before.
So what we did was we installed CallRail at that point, and then we listened. CallRail, it's like a phone tracking system, and we just listened to their phone calls. And what we realized is that all 4 office people couldn't sell.
Well,
all they had to do was get an appointment. That's all they had to do, but they didn't know how to do that. They'd get on the phone and they'd just start chit-chatting, and they wouldn't really get to the point, and they didn't really know how to incentivize or the secret psychology of persuasion, right? Here's how to persuade somebody to come in and talk to us, right?
Sure.
That's all they had to do, and they couldn't do it. So what we did as a company was we actually care about that, because as a marketing company, we could send you all the leads and we'll get paid for that. But if you're not closing business, it's not going to work very well.
Yep.
So we care. So what we did was we fired the staff.
Nice.
Yeah, we did. We fired all 4.
And what'd you
believe it or
with?
not? And fired is a harsh way to put. We made some changes in their ecosystem, and we replaced 4 people with 1 motivated salesperson
that knew what they're doing.
Dropped the leads from 300 to 150, and they've been clients ever since.
No kidding.
That's all you got to do. So what we decided to do with that company and with a lot of companies is if you've got 1 or 2 people that are in charge of this, right now I'm in discussion with a big super yacht refit company. They have 400-acre facility, giant buildings, the largest paint booth I've ever seen in my life. You drive a super yacht in and they paint the bloody thing.
Awesome.
It's just this massive operation, and they have literally 2 people in the office that are not salespeople trying to close these deals, doing RFPs and whatever. And so we need to automate that. We need to automate a system. How do you keep people on track? So we use Infusionsoft. There's other products out there, ActiveCampaign, Salesforce, HubSpot.
And does that take people right out of it, or are you still?
It doesn't. No. What it does is it automates the conversation, and it keeps the salespeople on track. It delivers information to the client, and there's trigger points. Here, we need you to do this thing. Here, we need you, the potential client, to click this link and watch this video. We need you to download the 5 steps on how to work with us. We need you to fill out this, sign the quote back.
Sure.
We need you to do that. The problem is that salespeople get overwhelmed, and the sticky note, spreadsheet, email, Google Gmail thing doesn't work very well. You need a system to automate. So when I say never rely on sales staff or office staff to close web leads, you need them to close those web leads, but you also need a system to help them.
Right.
Help them track what they're supposed to be doing. So for example, we'll send 3 emails to a client. Here, go do this thing. Day later, they didn't do it. Here, go do this thing. Day later, they didn't do it. They the client doesn't do it. 2 days later, another email. Here, go do this. At the end of that, if they didn't do it after 3 emails, a task goes to the salesperson and says, hey, we sent this person 3 emails. They didn't respond. Pick up the bloody phone and call them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. People call randomly. They call at times when isn't necessary, and then sometimes they just forget. Does that make sense?
So when you're doing this, when you this part of your business comes about with a client, I'm talking to a client of yours now, and you get this down to a point where you're going to automate this system, get the pipeline happening. You tell them, in addition to this system, we also need a person or 2 people that can handle this and are going to be trained on this.
At least one.
Right.
Yep.
You need them.
How to interact with the system, how to make changes to the system, how to write a good email, how to ask a question.
So there's that part of it too.
It's part of it. That's what we do. Yeah.
We're talking about the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. We'll get to number 1 as we get down to the end of the show here. Lots more to come, though. The email is paul@trainingbusinesspros.com, and the number anytime, get hold of Paul and his staff, 416-444-PROS. It's the Business Pros Radio Show, Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. Business Pros Radio Show. Anytime you want to get a hold of Paul and his team, it is paul@trainingbusinesspros.com. The number 416-444-PROS. A reminder, call the number, send the email. Please leave a mailing address. Take advantage of the digital marketing cheat sheet. This is something physical that I have to send to you, so they need a mailing address. For that. This show, we've been talking about the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. We're going to count down. Well, we have been counting down. We'll get to number 1. 5, back in the beginning of the show, Paul, was never buy Facebook's likes. Facebook likes don't pay bills.
Love that one. And number 4 was never buy Google AdWords traffic unless you track the cost per lead.
And number 3, never respond to web leads with information unless they ask for it. Instead, keep it short and ask only questions.
Yeah, another good one. Number 2, never rely on sales staff or office staff to close web leads without a system to help them automate the pipeline.
And finally, into number 1 of the top 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. Never post anything of value on your website without a plan on how to get people to find it.
This is my favorite one.
Okay.
And the reason why it's number 1 is not just because it's my favorite, but because I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that companies make. And let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Do you remember me talking a little bit earlier in the show about this new company that we're talking to? They're doing $13 million in 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. They hired a company to redo their website. And that was 18 months ago.
We talked about that last week.
18 months.
Yeah.
And so they hired me and a couple of my people to take a look at how far they've gotten and are they ready to launch. And in my experienced opinion, and to be as kind as I possibly can, they're nowhere near launch. And one of the biggest mistakes that I saw them make was they didn't analyze where the current traffic is coming from and carry that over to the new site. In fact, they just ditched pages that were getting traffic, and there's now going to be no URL at those pages, and I'm obviously going to fix that. But the extension of that is a website to Google from a search engine perspective has to be fresh, current, and relevant. That means that you're going to have to consistently add content, new information to your website to make Google algorithms see that you're in the game. Websites that are stagnant, static, and albeit boring, don't do very well in search. So if you're going to post content, it's easy for a company to write a blog post about the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business, or anything that's of value to a client to earn their trust, show a little bit of credibility and gain some respect. Trust, credibility, and respect. Love that. So you have to post this content. The problem is that companies do that randomly. Mm-hmm. They just think, I'll just go to my blog and I'll just post some content. Mistake. That's a mistake because you didn't research the keywords that potentially people use to find that content.
Right.
So that's what I say. If you're going to post content, have a plan for people to find it. A landing page, people are, landing page says its job is to collect a lead.
Mm-hmm.
That's never going to be searchable. So if you're relying on search traffic to get to that page, It's not going to happen. Meaning you're going to have to find other ways of getting traffic there, meaning links in blog posts could send them there. You could buy traffic.
Yes.
You could do some social media, which may or may not work. It really depends. But the thing is, there are specific ways to get people to web pages. And if you don't have a plan, and if you do have a plan, if you don't have a plan, bad. If you do have a plan and it's based on what you think,
still bad.
It's probably still bad. It's like, here's a good idea. We're gonna promote a post,
right?
A Facebook post, right? Bad idea.
Yeah.
So boost a post. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's a conversation we need to have because I'm responsible for the companies that I work for, that we work for. And we have plans for every web page. We don't just build web pages randomly. We just don't copy content from one page to another if we're going to rebuild a site. It's like every page must have some way for people to find it. Right. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
We got lots more to go here as we continue number 1 of the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. In the meantime, get a hold of Paul to get all this information and more. 416-444-PROS and Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. We'll take a short break. Lots more coming up. Global News Radio, 640 Toronto. The number to get a hold of Paul and his crew, 416-444-PROS, and it is Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com, the digital marketing cheat sheet. This is something physical you can get from Paul, but just leave a mailing address so they can send it to you. We've been talking about this hour, Paul, the 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. Number 1 is never post anything of value on your website without a plan on how to get people to find it.
Yeah, and the extension of that is, what do they do when they get there? So if they can find it and you have a plan for them to find it, you're posting links on other web pages, you're putting it in the menu, you're helping them get to that page within a couple of clicks.
Right.
Whatever the destination page is, that page must have a call to action. It's not good enough now just to post content. People like to be or are subject to or influenced by persuasion.
Okay.
So on a landing page, for example, we won't have one button that says click here to book an appointment. We'll have 4 spaced evenly throughout the page because as they scroll the page, there's like, I can make an appointment. And they get down a little bit further, they read some more. I can book an appointment. Now I'm ready to book an appointment. Does that make sense?
Yep, totally.
So if you're going to post something of value, great. Have a plan to get people to find it. But once they find it, have a CTA or a call to action for what they should do next.
Right.
And often it's not just about getting the lead right away. It's about click this link and take this survey.
Okay.
Click this link and do this quiz. Click this link and go read this other information that you need to be familiar with before we can start a conversation. Click this link to get on a webinar so we can give you the information that you need and you don't need to talk to anybody.
Could it be a form? Could that be the next click?
Yeah,
or no?
It could be a form. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's often it is, but sometimes it isn't. Yeah. It's like, well, what do you need to put in view of the searcher, the reader, so that they can take the action they need to take? The overall, the big overarching picture of digital marketing right now is to persuade somebody to do something. Yep. But there's been a lot of talk recently about what's called gated content that exists behind a login or content that exists behind, we need your contact data before you can do anything.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk recently, and it will be the buzzwords for 2018 and 2019 is, should we do away with gated content?
Just open it up for everybody?
Just open it up for everybody. And then if they get enough information, then they should be able to take that action on their own.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's a combination. I think you should have content that's available, but often your content is valuable. at least get an email address for it. Does that make sense? If they really want it.
They could sample it. You can have a taste, but
yeah.
you ain't getting the full meal till you go a little further,
Exactly.
basically, right?
I was talking a little bit earlier in the show where we got people to a 45-minute webinar, and it cost us $11 a lead to do that. That's good business if you can do that, right? Watch this webinar. That'll really our position is helping is better than selling. This webinar is going to help you. And if at the end of it you decide to do something else, we'll give you some choices.
And that webinar was, like you said, about 2 or 3 clicks in, and they were set to go.
The webinar was one name, first name, and an email address.
Wow, that's
so
it.
Not even 2 clicks. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's top 5 things you should never do on the internet to promote your business. There's probably more like 50.
Okay.
But these were the 5 that I brought with me today. Okay. All important. And whatever we do on the next show isn't always going to be an extension of this show. But the thought that I want to leave with people until next show is this. I often talk. My father calls it highbrow. Yeah. Because I got all these digital terms and I'm in the industry and whatever, and it often confuses people. And I don't want to be confusing. The best thing that I've ever done with companies is get them on a one-on-one online conversation, sure. And I basically show them how our other clients are doing. Okay. If anybody's listening to this and you just want me to do that, I'll do that. That's Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. Say, Paul, we need an online conversation
to get it happening.
Because I can talk in experience all day long, but it may be different for you, and I need to see it. I need to see what you're up to. What are you doing? If like this other company that's about to launch an 18-month project, right, and it's not near completion, we'll complete it in a month. That's right. No big deal for us, right? Yeah. We'll get it done. We'll get it out there. That takes a conversation. For her, actually, she was 3 hours, right? Yeah. And she paid us for that.
Well, it's worth it.
It's worth it. I mean, and you're a $13 million company and you're about to launch a website that could bring you down.
Right.
Bad idea, right? Yeah. Pay for a second opinion. We go to second opinions for moles.
It's true.
Get a second opinion on your business. That's probably a good thing.
Till next time, the contact is very simple. It is Paul at trainingbusinesspros.com. That is the email. The phone number 416-444-PROS. Take advantage of the digital marketing cheat sheet. That is something physical you can get from Paul. Just requires an actual mailing address when you